Hey, welcome. Look, we all know what fear feels like. We've all been there. It's totally normal. But what happens when that fear gets so big it starts to run your life? When it puts up walls around your opportunities, your dreams, your relationships? Today, we're going to look right at that line, the one that separates everyday fear from the grip of phobias and social anxiety.
It's a question a lot of us have, right? I mean, when does not loving heights or feeling a little nervous at a party turn into something more? That is exactly what we're going to break down.
So here's the game plan. First, we're going to put fear under a microscope and define what we're talking about. Then, we'll look at the difference between a phobia and social anxiety. After that, we'll cover the signs that it might be time to get help, explore what the path to confidence actually looks like, and then wrap up by answering some of your biggest questions. Okay, let's dive right in. To really get a handle on these conditions, we first have to get super clear on the definitions. It's all about knowing what we're actually dealing with. So, first up, phobias. This isn't just about being a little scared of something. A phobia is a persistent, totally overwhelming fear of a very specific thing. We're talking flying, needles, heights, you name it. And the key here is that the fear feels completely out of your control, even when your logical brain is screaming that the danger is tiny. And then there's social anxiety disorder. Now, this is a whole different beast. This fear is all about being judged or embarrassing yourself or being rejected by other people. And it's not just about giving a big speech. It can make everyday things at work, school, or even just hanging out with friends feel like a massive, stressful ordeal. So, we've got these two really powerful conditions. They both involve fear, for sure, but they are not the same thing. So let's get really clear on what sets them apart. The main difference really just boils down to the trigger. With a phobia, that fear is laser focused on a specific thing, like a spider or an elevator. But with social anxiety, the fear is about people. It gets set off by social situations where you feel like you're on display, and that judgment is right around the corner.
And this is another huge point of confusion. Being shy? That's a personality trait. Yeah, you might get a little nervous meeting new people, but you push through it. Social anxiety is on a whole other level. It's intense, it's persistent, and it can be a genuinely disabling condition that just wreaks havoc on your daily life.
So how do you know? How do you know when that fear has crossed a line and it's maybe time to think about getting some support? Let's look at the actual signs, because being able to recognize them is always the first step. And let's be really clear about something. What we're talking about here is so much more than just a case of the nerves. These are real, serious conditions. So what do they actually feel like? Well, there are some pretty clear signs. We're talking about that intense, heart-pounding fear, or even a full-on panic attack when you're faced with a trigger. That often leads you to start avoiding things, right? You turn down the promotion because it involves public speaking, or you miss a friend's wedding because you'd have to fly. And then there are the physical symptoms. The racing heart, the sweating, the shaking. It's not just in the moment either. It can be this extreme worry that eats you up for days or even weeks before an event. And pretty soon, it's messing with your job, your school, your friendships, everything. And when you put all those signs together, it hammers home this one critical point. These fears aren't a character flaw. They are not just shyness. They are recognized and, here's the most important part, treatable conditions. There is zero shame in getting help for them. Which brings us to the most hopeful part of this whole conversation, the path forward. Let's talk about what treatment actually looks like, because it's not about toughing it out. It's about regaining control and building real, lasting confidence. So this path usually has a few key steps. It often starts with reshaping your thought patterns, using things like cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, to spot and challenge those unhelpful thoughts that fuel the fear. Then you start to face those fears, but you do it gradually, in a totally safe and supportive way. That's called exposure therapy. At the same time, you might work on building practical social skills to feel more confident, and you'll master relaxation techniques, like breathing exercises, to manage the physical feelings of anxiety right in the moment.
All right, now for a little rapid-fire round. We're going to tackle some of the biggest questions and concerns people have when they hear about all this. Let's get right to it.
First up, a big one.
Are phobias really that common? I mean, is this something a lot of people are quietly dealing with?
Oh yeah, the answer is a huge yes. They are way more common than you might think. But here's the crazy part. Even though the therapy for them is incredibly effective, the vast majority of people living with a phobia never actually get treatment. Okay, Next question. When it comes to social anxiety, is medication the only real answer? Is everyone who struggles with this on a prescription? Nope, not always. Actually, a lot of people see incredible lasting improvement with therapy all by itself. Medication is something that might be added to the mix for more severe cases, but it's definitely not always the first or only stop. And here it is. This is probably the biggest question of all. That phrase, exposure therapy, it just sounds terrifying, doesn't it? Is it as scary as it sounds?
And what's so important to understand here is that the answer is a clear no. It's actually the total opposite of scary. Good exposure therapy is slow, it's gradual, and it's super supportive. And the most important thing, it is always done at your pace. You are in the driver's seat 100% of the time.
And that really gets to the heart of it. The ultimate goal of treatment isn't just to make you less afraid. It's about making you more confident. It's about giving you the tools to live your life more freely and more fully. So, I want to leave you with this question. Just think about it for a second. Whether it's getting on that plane, or nailing that presentation, or just walking into a party and feeling at ease, what could your life actually look like if those limits weren't there anymore? That future is totally, absolutely possible.